there, and welcome back to SOS Stories of Survivors. I'm your host, Serina Dansker, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome this group of lovely ladies. It's the SOS Self Love Club. And today we are gathering with these wise women to talk about some funny, soulful, just great facts and all about our journeys in life. And today we're going to talk about reinvention after 50. Returning to the workforce if you've left or you've had to pivot careers, and also some really good wealth and management of stress-free living advice. So today I'd like to welcome Michelle Giorno. She's the policy whisperer and insurance ninja. I've got Mary Gleason, who's retired young and living loud legend. I have Christine Johansson, who's the pivot pro and career powerhouse, and JoJo Tierney, who's regulation rock star and compliance queen. Welcome, and welcome to our new episode today. So we're going to just dive right in, and we're going to talk about, in one sentence, who you are now at being 50 something. I could tell you for me, I'm following my soul's purpose. I was on a total journey before, and a way different journey. And now I've actually finally come into my own. I've got the confidence, and I'm figuring things out along the way, and I feel empowered by it. Does anyone else want to share?
I feel the same way. I feel more confident and experienced to be equipped to tackle challenges today and be a little more, feel good about my decisions and where I'm going.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that is where I find myself more courageous. I'm willing to take risks and chances that in my earlier years I would have been like, oh, I'm not doing that.
I think because of the confidence.
Yes,
right?
because the experience, the confidence, and you just reach a point in your life like, this is what I should be doing.
Yeah, that's so incredible.
I do think it goes back to knowing yourself really well, knowing what works for you, knowing what you want, and liking yourself. That's kind of the way I feel now.
Wow, liking yourself. Yeah. That's huge. It takes a long time, I think, to really appreciate who you are. What about you, Michelle?
I agree. I think knowing yourself, the confidence, I'm a badass now. And honestly, I couldn't have said that when I was 20 or even 30.
Right. And I just think that's so incredible and empowered. And, along with having the self-confidence and liking yourself, I'm learning now in life that I need to do self-love rituals. I have to take care of myself, whereas probably in my youth, I wasn't really taking care of myself. I was busy experimenting and probably getting into trouble. But now as I get older, I've taken on a whole new look. And I definitely, every month, as with you guys, which is one of my favorite things, is we get together and we do a self-care ritual. Whether it's just going out to dinner or going to a spa. What is one of yours self-love rituals that you'd like to share?
Well, one of the things I do, now that I started taking better care of myself, is supplements and moisturizers. Those are the things that I do that are just hey, that's what I need to do for myself to make myself feel good, look good, and just, that helps with the confidence, that helps with, aging well and, doing what I have to do and facing the world every day.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I went through a period where I couldn't sleep. So nothing kicks a woman's butt like menopause, right? So my sleep ritual has become sacred. So it is a thing, I will admit, but it is necessary. I have my sleepy time tea, my melatonin. I spray lavender on my pillow. I do my facial care and listen to my app that helps me sleep. And it's really helped me, and I wouldn't miss it. Even on vacation, I do this.
That's awesome.
That's great.
That's so awesome. Anyone else?
I love that. I think that's something I'm working on. I've just started working on. I actually have a journal, and I journal in the morning how I feel. And at the end of the day, I write what I'm grateful for, what happened, the little gifts that I've been given. Wow. And then I write and how I'm feeling at the end of the day. And I honestly, I've been getting a lot more sleep because it's just part of that nighttime routine. It's awesome.
That's amazing. How about you, Mary?
I think that's great. I don't have a particular ritual, but I do love spending time with my friends. I love hosting parties, which for me is like all the self-love I could possibly need, because it's always the best people in my life, whether they're my friends or my family, and we're having a great time together, and it just brings so much joy to me.
I agree. I think as I get older, I value the time with those that I love, whether they're friends or family, so much. I think it just fills my heart. It just fills my bucket, if you will. You
Yeah,
know?
I couldn't agree
And
more.
Mary's a great hostess.
That's
That's true.
She
That's
does it
true.
stress-free, always with a
Thanks.
smile.
This
Thank
is
you.
true. Oh my gosh. Well, I wanted to make the show a little bit about, re-entering into the workforce, talking about our careers and sometimes how you have to pivot or change or so, thinking back for me after I had kids, I needed to come back into the workforce, after being gone for a few months. And at that time, coming back in, I was nervous because one, I wasn't 100% with my head in the game because I still had my head at home with the children. I had triplets at that time. And so they were babies, and it was just because I was in the stock market, it was really difficult. And I think for me, just coming in, it was exciting to get out of the house and get back into work, but it's also terrifying because I felt that I wasn't strong enough or didn't have enough of my head in the game to really be effective. And of course, a lot of that was in my head. I was smart. I kept up on the news. I knew what was going on, but it's just something that I dealt with, and it plagued me for a little bit. But I did get through it. Does anyone else want to share something?
I can totally relate to that. I remember going back after 6 months being home with my first child, and you question yourself, am I a good mom? Am I doing the right thing at a job? Should I be leaving? Why can't I make it? And then you watch all these videos of all these great people doing all these things at home. And I'm like, I need the work. Like, I need the fulfillment for myself to work and not just be a caretaker. And you find this great balance where you lean on other people.
You do.
It takes a village.
It does take a village. That's a great point, Mary.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on my third career now. What you would call a worker bee. We're all the same, working bees. And I really couldn't afford to stay home, but I also knew I didn't want to stay home. So for the couple of years that I did, my kids were very little. I went back to school and I started a new career after being in sales for so many years. When COVID hit, I was teaching for about 11 years at that point, and I just did not want to go back. And I was like, here I am, 51, 52 years old, looking to start a third career and re-enter sales, only this time it wasn't magazine advertising space, it was technology sales. So it was a big jump, and it was really challenging, and ageism is real, and it exists, as we've talked about. And I just kept plugging away until finally I got that one job, and then you can build upon that one opportunity. But it wasn't easy,
It's not. What about you, JoJo?
Well, I just try and take my skills. I was never, I'm not a mom, so I was never out for that reason. But I just like growing in my career and pivoting. I went from pharmaceutical work to medical device work to now the entertainment industry.
Right.
And you can really adjust your skills and expand your skills as you try these different, opportunities. And I just found it really fascinating and rewarding, each different aspect I was in. So I feel really fulfilled now. I mean, I just have a lot of different experiences, and I just enjoy where I am now. And I thought all the experiences are great.
Yeah, I'm kind of a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
So I've worked in the event planning arena, but most recently and currently I'm in the insurance industry. And one of the things that I find most fulfilling is helping women my age to know what your insurance is, pay attention, be aware. I'll do like a little round robin. Okay, let me look at your policy. I went on a girls' weekend and she's like, oh, can you just look at this? She pulled her insurance up and went, oh, yeah, okay. Well, you don't need that and you do need this and da, 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 da. So I find it fulfilling.
That's so amazing. And I mean, we all bring stuff to the table. And I think back to when I was, first starting my career in my 20s and how different it is now in our careers and with the confidence that we've gained being 50 something. But, how did COVID impact your work life? You talked a little bit about it, but
Yeah, for COVID for me was pretty good because it kept me home. I used to travel an awful lot and it squashed my travel to zero. So I got a chance to spend time with my kids and I was still doing really well because I was in sales. But I was the early transition to remote working and it was really good for me. And our company changed their whole policy around it. So I found COVID to be great for work wise, life work balance. It was a little tough because you're home all the time with the kids remote learning and stuff. That was quite difficult. That was quite difficult, but it was a good experience overall.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I started working remote as well during COVID, and luckily I got to stay working remote to this day. So I really enjoy it. But my job has me working globally. So when I was at the office, I was having international calls or Zooms or teleconference Zoom meetings, whatever. So it wasn't a big difference when I went home, working from home. So I enjoyed it. I think it's just, I get to sleep longer. I don't have to commute into the city. So it was a big thing. I mean, they did bring some people back, of course, but I was one of the lucky ones that, and I feel, thankful that I got to, continue working remotely. But it was a nice transition. COVID was the worst. It was a horrible thing to happen, but, it was one of the brighter spots that came out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the company I worked for, we were home for about 4 weeks, and then they wanted everyone to come back. Since then, for the last 3.5 years, I've been working at a firm that we're pretty much remote, 100%. We go in like once a month, and I'm so grateful for that. It has given that work-life balance, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, something I could add to that too is I worked in the financial space during COVID and nobody worked remote in finance. They all thought people wouldn't do their jobs. And I think they were amazed at how much people did more work being home than they did when they were in the office because they really felt they had all their time to them.
Interesting. So interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm remote also, and I don't know if I could ever go back into an office 5 days a week. Being a teacher, you're punching that clock, if you're 5 minutes late. So I'm actually happier in my career now post-COVID than I've ever been because it's remote. I don't have to commute. I do travel sometimes, but I never imagined I'd be happier and more satisfied with my third career in my 50s than I was with my first and my second career. So you can, hit a stroke of good luck and actually improve your working circumstances.
Yeah, it's funny. I that totally resonates with me because when COVID hit, I was actually taking a step back from my career because my mom was aging, and then I had kids that were in high school and struggling. So I wanted to be present, at that time. And COVID kind of shut down the world around us and allowed us that opportunity. But we didn't experience the fact where, a lot of people didn't have jobs anymore, and their jobs shut down, or their careers were no longer relevant because of COVID, and they had to reimagine themselves or reinvent themselves, and Jojo, you alluded to this a little bit that if you're in a career and you're feeling stuck or your career, I don't know how AI is going to impact people going forward, but if your career is suddenly non-existent, how do you pivot? What do you do if you feel, or even if you feel stuck? How do you, adapt your resume or, your interview skills? What kind of tricks can you guys share?
You have to stay relevant. You have to keep up on things. And, for me, I just, keep taking either whether work offers it or if, your library offers it or app offers it, staying on top of technology or, your craft, your industry, even professional organizations that I belong to. They give you educational opportunities. They give you job opportunities. So there's a lot of things, and cross-training. I suggest cross-training and getting yourself involved in projects across functions that can keep you relevant. and on the radar and learning new things always. Just keep yourself relevant.
Really good advice. Really good advice.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think you have to be up on technology, whatever technology is called for within your career space. There's no excuse for that. Like, and so that when you do have the interview, you can talk the talk and walk the walk. I found that there was a lot of helpful information on YouTube. Everything from how to interview, how to answer questions that are the top 50 interview questions that they're sure to ask, and practice. I also took off dates on my resume, so you don't need to. I mean, they're going to find out how old you are, but you don't need to advertise that you're in your 50s.
Oh,
You
good.
don't need to know that right from the start. So you take off your college graduation date, things like that, and just keep improving your resume. Keep improving your interview questions.
That's great.
Yeah, and to add to that, you can videotape yourself. So you take the YouTube content and you pose questions to yourself, and I would set up my computer. I would do it like they asked me a question, and then I would answer the question. So then I could look back and see how I looked to the person that was interviewing me. And that helped so much because it just
Great
makes you very comfortable in answering questions.
That's good at any age.
Yeah,
Right.
it is. It's good at any age. Absolutely.
Wow.
I'm like, Mary, that's great advice. I didn't even think about that.
You just
but-
have to find a nice background. You need
Right.
a good background for it. It's great because you can't believe what you look like sometimes.
That's true. I research the person who I'm going to interview with.
Great advice.
I will look them up, and so when I go, I'll ask, "How was your experience at Villanova?" And they're like, "Oh, okay, you did your research."
Yeah.
It just one little connection there, help. It actually is really cool.
If you make it personal instead of work, it sticks with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good advice. Really, you guys are on it, man. That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your mindset and as you are on your journey and you're in your careers, sometimes you feel stuck in your career or something happens or your way of life or the way you look at things makes you want to pivot your career. Was there a moment in your life which screamed out at you, it's time for me to move on? And if so, what was that moment like?
Well, I had one experience when I was still in the medical device field where there was, some of the environment wasn't as, warm and fuzzy as you wanted. There was like, it wasn't a hostile environment. It was fine. I had a good experience. Most of the people there were nice, but there was a particular person who made things difficult for everybody. And yet this person was still there, but good people would leave. So I was just like, well, this isn't right. But that was like a point in my life where I'm just like, well, I'm not going to tolerate this person like sabotaging things for myself or other people. I'm going to move on. And then, that's how I ended up into the entertainment industry. And it was a great thing. So like my husband and I joke around that this guy was like, the worst thing and the best thing that happened to my career because it was just so weird that sometimes people in your life like this can be an obstacle or, a thorn in your side, but they can motivate you to go somewhere else and do something else. And
be the catalyst,
yes,
right?
if he hadn't been a thorn in my side, I might not have been in the career which I really love now. So that was, just a weird turning point in my life. But, it's just you have to be, keep these things in mind when you're looking at things that happen to you in your life. Like, why is this happening to me? And just maybe reevaluate it and then just pivot to make it something good out of it.
Really, really cool.
I feel the same way when I was a teacher. So I went back to get my master's, and the plan was I would be a teacher for the rest of my life and have a nice, cushy retirement. And it just never worked out that way. It was when the 2% tax cap came in and they kept firing librarians, and I just kept being bounced around. And I was headstrong and would not give up. And then finally, when COVID hit, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is the universe giving me signs here that, like, let's just pack it in. It's okay. It didn't work out. You got 11 years in. You have a small retirement. It's time for a change.
Right.
And I'm so happy I did. I'm so happy I stopped trying to just make something fit that wasn't fitting.
That's great.
And it's hard to accept.
You have
but
to
you
realize
have to.
that and recognize that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And accept it. Like you said, it's hard to accept.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, yeah.
It was that whole round peg in a square hole.
Yes.
Or something like that.
That's what it felt like. It really did. And
Yeah.
I just got, it was killing my spirit, and I was ready to just let it go. And, you know, you have to be flexible and willing to see, you know, this isn't really the best role for me. Maybe I'm not as good at this as I thought I might be. It's just not a good fit for me. And then start over.
Yeah,
Mm.
I actually, during COVID, I was at a job and it was crushing my spirit. And I honestly felt like I wasn't cut out for insurance anymore. And I interviewed with this super dynamic woman who is very much like girl power. And she really reinforced the fact that I knew what I was talking about. I did know what I was talking about. Even to this day, she will say, like, you don't work there anymore. You work here and you know your stuff. So it's so cool. I love it.
And having that confidence, you
Yeah,
know,
confidence is key.
it's great. So let me ask you. So when you started or pivoted your jobs, how did you negotiate? You know, your price. You know, of having decades of experience. I mean, we're not new coming into the field. You know, any of you have any tricks to that to you know get your price? For salary talks. You know?
So I am great question,
Yeah.
because I'm a huge proponent of exposure and disclosure. Just tell people what you make and start talking about it. Makes it not such an uncomfortable conversation.
Wow.
So you find a peer
Yeah.
and that somebody you come to, and you be honest with them. Hey, I make 170,000.
Right.
I'm looking at this job. Do you think that's going to pay more? Do you know anything about? And you have to talk about it. And people do not want to talk about their salaries.
Isn't that funny?
And it's not the people, it's the companies that don't
Yes.
want you talking about the salaries.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, that's funny because when I was in the business, when I was a financial advisor, women were not really a big part. It was mostly a man's business when I was there. And it was really interesting because when you negotiated your cut of commissions, because it was a commission-based business, I found that the men always got a couple of percentage points more than I did. And it used to drive me nuts. You know? It really did. And, eventually I've learned to negotiate, and show my worth. But in the beginning, it was really,
It is a man's world in corporation, unfortunately, but we're making strides.
We are.
We're getting there.
Absolutely.
And one thing now, at least for New York has to list the salary ranges now.
Yes.
So that's required in any of these job postings. So that is a real game changer too, because now you know what the range is and you know where you fit into the range. And prior to that, I used to have almost like this expanded portion of my resume with all the justifications of why I can say how much I should make and why I should make that. You give them their resume, but
Yes.
yours, you have all these stats and facts for yourself, like why you should be in that range or whatever. So, and you have to do your homework. If you're not in New York and they don't list it, you have to, do a little homework and find out what the range is, like Mary said,
Right.
just to see what your worth is.
Yeah, really good. So, we talked a little bit about how technology plays a part in our relevance in today's world. Is there a tech tool or an app that you learned to stay job market relevant that you want to share with the audience?
So I can share that I used to lead on LinkedIn a lot.
Absolutely.
But LinkedIn has become like a tiny mini Facebook. Like it's other people promoting personal opinions, politics, whatever they want. And I find it to be not as good as a career tool anymore. And if anybody has any advice on what they would use, I'd be really curious, because LinkedIn is getting a little too.
But LinkedIn has a learning tool, though. You have to pay more.
Yeah, I paid for the premium subscriptions, but I find all the postings, like when you go to people that and the connections, there's a lot of schmush there that isn't part of business, and
Yeah,
I don't think
be a
should
little
really be there. Should really be there.
more professional.
Yeah,
but they do have Microsoft, Google, all kinds of tools to learn how to use apps. Absolutely, career
Yes.
development, speech, any kind of marketing. I mean, they have all kinds of tools like that, because there used to be something called lynda.com that I used to use, but that doesn't exist anymore. And LinkedIn actually bought it, and then my company started providing that to us. So
Yeah,
we
they
have,
do have good
all
learning
kinds
tools.
of stuff like that. But yeah, it is getting a little social media-ish.
I felt it, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, in sales, it's all about the CRM software. So that was a big obstacle for me because I didn't have experience with Salesforce. So something like you're saying, professional development, so at least you can fake your way through an interview to get the job and then learn it on the job.
Right.
You know, we all done that,
Yeah.
right? And right now, I mean, I think it's really important to be as familiar as you can with AI. And I've been using it more and more. And I'll tell you, it can write a terrific email.
Yeah.
So if you say, you know, write me a succinct email that states these bullet points and you give it the stats, you come out with a beautiful email. And I think that this is the way of the future. So
It's time
again,
saving,
staying
right?
current.
Yeah,
Yeah.
staying current. Really interesting.
I'm fighting it. I am fighting it.
You and me both, Michelle.
You know, I think the main reason why is because I receive those emails and I'm like, this is AI. This person didn't write this. This isn't even in their tone. And did they check it? And that I feel like, I mean, I'm a pretty good writer, so I'm not going to go there. But I don't know. I feel like it's dumbing people down a little. I hate to say it.
It does. Well,
'Cause-
that's
Oh, yeah.
funny that you say
Yeah.
that because my kids, okay, they're in college and you know they all use AI. And one of my kids is doing an internship and their phones are not allowed where he's doing his internship, and he had to write market reports. And so he's like, he realized on his own, he's like, I didn't think as clearly as I used to when I was, you know, in high school
Wow.
or college before AI, how my writing skills have actually suffered because of it, you know. But it does, like if you use it properly, if you write, like, let's say an email and then you run it through the AI and you have it, you know, make it embellished or whatever, you know, and then you re-edit it. I think that there's a place for AI.
Yeah,
Maybe
good
not,
point.
you know, to take away everything, but yeah, you're right. And I can't deny that it does, you know, take away some of the skills that we have or had, you know.
Oh,
With-
absolutely.
with
But the thing is, it's not going away.
Yeah.
So if you don't embrace it, I feel like you're just left behind.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I mean,
Good-
I
good
don't know
point.
where it's going to be in 10 years. It's impossible to predict.
Yeah, you need a balance. We have some guidelines, even where I work. It's like, you can use the AI, but the author has to be, in charge and has to make the final cut and authorize that being released the way it is. You can't just AI it and send it out. You have to take ownership and responsibility for what the AI produced, and then you have to edit it to make sure it's accurate.
Oh, that's
It's-
that's good.
A little bit of
Yeah,
balance.
to add on to that, because there are cases where people are getting fleshed out,
Yep.
where they had wrong information,
Yeah.
or like, especially in law, there's a lot of cases now where they're pushing back because there were laws that were referenced through the AI that weren't accurate, and people, yes,
And
people,
you
yes,
at least give you an answer.
Yes.
Right or wrong.
yes.
We find that in insurance. We've been testing it out, asking insurance questions like about your umbrella or your excess insurance and what's the difference. And like, AI got it wrong 3 times.
Wow.
Wow, that's crazy.
Mm.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think we're going to pivot now from jobs to money moves and, just your mindset with money. I mean, and this is kind of in my wheelhouse because this is what I did for years and years and years. But I'm curious, what was the smartest money decision that you ever made?
I can say that it was contributing to my 401k when I first started working, as much as I could. I didn't have a lot, but as much as I could.
Did you contribute enough where you were able to get matched by
Yes,
the company?
and it was a very dear friend of mine who turned me on to it. He worked with me, and he said, if you're not putting your money in, you're losing 6%, because I had a 6% match.
Yes.
And I didn't realize that. I had I was like, really? I can make money just by putting money in? And he's like, if you can put 6% in, they'll give you 6%. So I'm like, done deal.
Yeah.
And once you
Yeah.
start doing it, it's hard because you have to learn to live without that extra 6%.
Yes.
But it stops being an issue and you just kind of get used to it. And
Really?
that's how I've been able to retire a little younger than I expected to, was because I started investing and saving a little earlier.
That's
It's just
so
lucky.
smart.
Yeah.
No, smart.
Yeah.
Really smart.
Totally agree. Yeah, 401k is the way to go, and leaving it to the professionals or letting them
Yeah.
guide you.
Exactly.
That's good. Yeah, a little tidbit about 401ks is a lot of companies will allow you to borrow against your 401k for certain things, like let's say, first time home purchase, or I recall when my husband and I first got married, he had a 401k that had a little more money, and his company allowed him to borrow against it so we could use that money to help pay for our wedding. And it was really nice because even though you're borrowing from your future self, you're paying back that money to yourself. So it's kind of a neat way to utilize money that you're saving. So
Yeah.
it's a nice tidbit
I've
there.
I've done that as well, so I know where you're coming from. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nice, and you pay
Well-
back the money with interest, and the interest goes to you too.
Mhm.
Right.
So
I was going to say 401k too, but I feel like it's been very beneficial to have an accountant prepare our taxes and just to have someone else put an eye on it. My husband's an attorney, so there's just a lot of things that we might not think of, not being financially savvy.
Mm.
One thing that helped me when my husband passed is that he had life insurance. So that was kind of a game changer. And I used it just to pay down all of our debt so that our cost of living is as low as possible. So, we're at the age where our parents are passing, our aunts and uncles, and you might get a small inheritance here and there. And I think it just makes sense to really pay down your debt.
Smart. That is one of the
Yeah.
biggest things that are life changing, because you don't realize when you carry debt, whether it's credit card or loans or car loans, mortgages, you're paying so much more in the long run over the term of the loan, over the term of the credit cards. And as a young person, I got into credit card debt when I first got out of college because I was putting myself through school. I was working all these jobs, and I would use the credit cards to help me do it. But what I failed to realize is that as I was paying only the minimum payment to pay it off, the interest was it was compounding over and over again. And it actually took much more money and much more time for me to pay those credit cards off. And eventually I was able to, I had a system where I would take one of my credit cards and I would pay as much money on that one as I could every month, whereas the other ones I would let go until that one was paid off. And then I would choose another credit card and I would put as much money down on that one and do the minimum on the remainders until every credit card I had was.
I'm with you. I went through that same thing. And I remember clear as day, the day I realized I was finally in the black and no longer in the red.
Oh my God.
Probably by like $200, but hey.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, man.
You're up ahead. That counts.
It's big,
It's big.
it really is. Biggest investing myth you had to unlearn? Anything?
Hmm.
You can't leave things on autopilot.
Yes.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, you can't. You have to be engaged and participate, even if it's with a professional. Because like I said, I don't know any better, but engaging with some of it. Yeah, I had things on autopilot for a while and just neglecting it, and that wasn't the right thing to do.
It wasn't growing. you
No,
mean?
yeah, it was
Yeah.
just stagnating. I mean, it was still doing stuff, but yeah, it could have been doing a lot better.
Really
Yeah.
smart.
And some with inheritance money you mentioned, inheritance, sometimes you get the inheritance money, you don't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of sits and it just earns its little trickle of interest in the bank. And it's, what do I do with it? Do I invest with it? If I don't have a lot of debt, do I save it towards college, or do I put it into my own retirement, my IRA or
Right. And as we get over 50, you're allowed to put a little kicker into your IRA to help you accelerate
yes.
your savings for as we get older too. They have a $7,500 catch-up provision for those that are over 50 for a 401k, and there's actually one of the best things you can do is to keep funding those plans because they grow tax-free, or tax deferred, I should say, until you start to pull the money out. Really great things to do.
And I can add that one of the best pieces of advice that Serina gave to my son was to start a 403b.
No, a Roth IRA.
Roth IRA, thank you.
Right.
Mm.
Close.
Yeah, Roth IRA at 21.
Yeah.
And he did it. And he
Wow.
puts in money every week.
Smart.
He's putting in money into that account.
Wow.
Yes.
that's
And
hot.
I am amazed.
That's
Yeah.
impressive.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, it's funny because all of our friends who have children, when the children started working, even at 16 or 17, I say, whatever money you earn, put it into a Roth IRA because if you don't need it now, but this will help you for your future. And one of our friends, Eileen and John, their daughter came up to me on her wedding day and thanked me because of her saving in her Roth IRA all through college. And as she got older and wanted to buy her first time house, she was able to pull out all the money that she had contributed to this Roth IRA to use as a down payment. And that's how they bought their first house.
Nice.
So kind of cool, you know?
Yeah.
Great
And
advice.
there's a lot of tricks, you know, and don't be afraid to ask questions. I can't tell you the amount of times where, you know, I'd have an elderly woman come into my office. Her husband just passed away. She never knew where the money was or how to even write a check. She didn't know who the banker was. And just starting from that is daunting, especially when you're older. So if there are classes or if your bank offers a little, you know, round table or a dinner where you can learn about your finances, go take it up because at some point or another, you're going to be responsible for your finances.
Yes.
Well, yes, as a recent widow, you know, my husband and I were together for 28 years and he had done all the billing just because I didn't like it and I didn't like to deal with it. So I was one of those little old ladies who didn't know the
Young,
accounts,
beautiful lady.
the
Yeah.
passwords. I didn't know our homeowner's insurance and it was willful ignorance. I did it to myself
Right.
and I had to pay the price just to catch up. It took me months to climb out of that.
Yeah.
So I would recommend to any woman, know your accounts, know your homeowner's insurance, know your, you know, if you have AAA or not, you know, keep
There
a
should be a
notebook.
yes, a
Yeah.
notebook, a file where you list all the account numbers, you know, the
Mhm.
passwords, wherever. I mean, you have to keep that in the safe because in case you get robbed. But
Right.
you know, where you can, you know, if something happens, it's true.
Yeah.
You know. So let's for listeners who've paused their careers, and maybe they had to drain their retirement plans. Does anybody have step one on what they should do to rebuild their retirement savings or how to, you know, start building that nest egg again?
Yikes.
Yeah, that's
Great question.
Call for professional
All right,
help.
here we go.
Tell me, I
All
don't
right,
know.
so this is where I can come into the picture here. So one of the great tricks that I learned through my career is whenever you have a salary, okay, you should break down that salary where 50% of it goes to your needs, meaning your rent or your mortgage, your food, all of the things that you need to live on. 30% should go to your wants. So your wants would be, you know, the extra clothing or your wardrobe or going out to dinner once a week or, you know, maybe towards a vacation.
Travel, baby.
Yes, yes, exactly. And then the last 20% should go to future you or an emergency fund. So if you're ever in a COVID environment or somehow you lose your job, you know, it happens to all of us, that you have a nest egg that you can fall back on, which is, you know, really, and just to give you like a little more. So 50% rent, mortgage, utilities, groceries, insurance premiums, all your required minimum debt payments, that's where that goes. 30% dining out, streaming services, travel, hobbies, gym, all your non-essential stuff that you want to do. And then 20%, like I said, your emergency fund, retirement accounts, 401k, you know, paying down extra on those credit cards. And don't forget about college funds, especially if you have children, because let me tell you, those 529 plans that pay for college for these kids are a game changer. Because that money, if you start saving for your children when they're born or have people, instead of buying you, you know, gifts that you're not going to use or whatever, have them contribute to a 529 plan for your child. And you can keep it in your name. So if you have one child that's brilliant and gets a scholarship, it can go off to the second child. And that money just grows and grows and grows, tax free in a lot of cases, as long as you use it for higher education purposes. So
I agree. They're great plans. And New York has a fantastic 529. They're fun. And no, you don't even need to live in New York to participate in it.
I might just add that, the cost of living with rents is so high now that if it's possible to invest in real estate, even if you bought a 2-family or a 3-family house and you lived in one of the apartments, so that this way your income is supplemented and you're not just paying rent. That's how we got started with our first investment, and worked out really well for us.
that was going to be my next question. It's like, okay, index funds, rental real estate, or entrepreneurship? It's going to tell you to pick one and tell me why. And we already know.
I think real estate investing is the way to go. I think it matures, especially in this area. It usually matures very well, requires some upkeep, but you do need capital to get into it. And that's hard. Where do you defer that capital that you need in other areas for your future self?
Yeah,
that's true.
I was always planning on the lottery.
Still waiting, right?
Still waiting.
I still scratch them off.
Yeah, I think he's been watching, my husband's watching the more investment channels and, looking, paying more attention to our investments now and just trying to keep up on that. But it's hard to, make up lost time.
It is. But the government does, our tax laws right now do help us, people that are over 50, amplify your savings by giving you those little boosts. And you should, if you can, take advantage of that. Mm-hmm. Now, I know you had a fabulous idea about saving money, and you use it for yourself.
I do.
Yes. You had told me about it. It was a
$5 a day, baby. I slide $5 a day into, and then at the end of the year, okay, I'm not a mathematician, I'm sorry, but it's like over $1,000.
Yes.
You can take yourself on I do a self-care weekend, and I'll usually go away somewhere. And it's just like a little, but think about it, in 5 years, that'd be a nice little nest egg. So.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when I was a kid, we used to do these Christmas clubs. My mother used to have me put money in.
Yes, I remember those.
Do you remember the Christmas clubs? And you put money in every week. And at the end of the year, you'd have enough money to buy presents for everybody.
And layaway. Remember layaway?
Yes. But these are all, things that you can do to help you, it's really important to budget yourself and not to overextend yourself. And I can't stress how important it is to live within your means, because by doing that, you can end up like Mary and being able to retire early, and not be so stressed out on where your next paycheck is coming from. And it took me a long time to learn that. But once you do, you breathe easier. You have the wherewithal where you can, okay, if I want to do that splurge, I can.
Yeah, I think going out to dinner and buying food out is one of the biggest wasters. And I see my kids do it, and a lot of young people did it. I did it when I was young, but really, if you just pull back on that area, you can make a difference in how much you can save.
Oh, yeah.
But working remote is great.
Yes.
I just have my breakfast, lunch, dinner at home. It's rare that I will eat out. I mean, on the weekends with my husband, but
even the commuting cost, you save.
Yes.
So saving on the food and the commute, it's just, parking, everything like that. It all adds up and helps.
Well, that's true. I didn't even think about that. All the commuting. I mean, the train into New York City and everything.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
it makes a difference. So to
definitely.
me, that's,
wow, not
more
just
income
time,
for
but
me,
money.
yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So my son has an interesting comment to his siblings where he says, "Don't spend any of your money. Spend mom and dad's money." So that's another way you could say.
I think my kids are taking that. Clearly.
Oh, that's funny. That's amazing.
Yes.
So let me ask you some fun questions here. Oh, actually, before I do, let me wrap up this little segment with some fun facts just to anchor the chat. So starting in 2025, those 50 plus can defer up to $23,500 into a 401k, plus a $7,500 catch up for a total of $31,000 a year. So for those people who have not saved or have not been taking advantage of that, you can do that. Now, I will add on to this that this came from ChatGPT, so double check it with your accountant before you're going ahead and adding all that money. But for 2024, the total contributions you can make each year to all of your traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, can't be more than $7,000 or $8,000 if you're 50 or older. Same disclaimer. And, it's all based on taxable compensation. If you're not earning any money, then you really can't contribute any money. So you get out there and, do a couple jobs, at least, if you're a young person, just enough so that you can contribute to that Roth IRA that can really set you up for a fabulous future. So at this point, I'd like to do some rapid fire self-love segment here. And one word that you tattoo on your heart today.
Blessed.
Oh, I love
I
that.
really feel blessed.
Oh.
Hope.
Mm.
I always have hope. It's hard in the wild world we live in, but I just hope in the greater good.
I think for me, it would be just let my light shine. I know it's not one word, but I just like the inner light.
Family. They're my friends and my
Oh,
family.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, Christine?
Well, mine would be two words too. Let them finally
Oh.
getting there, finally realizing who cares. Let them think what
Yes.
they want to think. Let them paint me out to be whoever they want to paint me out to be.
Yeah.
Let them.
And let them see me shine,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and really that's it. And how about a guilt-free splurge that fuels pure joy for you? Mare?
Spa weekends.
I think we're all on that same page.
Can I say shoes? I
I love that. Yes. One thing I could buy where it doesn't matter what size I am, my shoes always fit.
My closet doesn't lie.
Travel abroad.
Travel. I love that. That's awesome. How about a book maybe that flipped your mindset in life? Is there a book that's changed you, or a book that you just love to read that you recommend to everyone?
I'm a big fan of Greg Gutfeld. I mean, any of his books, like, How to Be Right, Not Cool, and The Plus. It's just, I love his snarky humor, and he's so insightful, and he's got a lot of, fun, cool things.
Say
to
his name again. I don't think I know it.
Greg Gutfeld.
Greg Gutfeld.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll have to add that to the chat. Tell us
Yeah.
your favorite book
Yeah.
or two
Yeah.
by him.
He's
cool.
very funny, very snarky. He has a lot of political satire too.
Oh,
He has
that's so
a
funny.
late night show also. So,
Oh, that's so fun.
he's-
How about you?
The Bible. I have been deep diving into scripture. I just finished ministry school, so
Wow.
I've learned so much, and it's just my faith has gotten deeper, and that equals happiness.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Mare, any books? No?
I don't.
One that I would recommend is The Four Agreements. If it's short and it's read globally. It's been out probably for 20 years or what have you, but it's 4 agreements, and it's kind of like a policy for living. So like always do your best, be impeccable with your word. I'm blanking out on what the other 2 are right now, but that's
okay.
one that really made a difference in my life. And I especially the be impeccable with your word, like be careful with your words, what you say, how you say it, only say what you mean. You can't take back an insult, things like that.
True.
Yeah.
That's
That's very true.
I think one book that was life-changing for me, it's crazy. It's a an illustrated book. It's like a picture book, and it's a kid's book, and it's called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, and it's by last name is Max C, and it is just. It's so simple, but it's so heartfelt, and it talks about kindness. And one quote in the book is the mole asks the boy, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the boy responds, kind. And I just,
Perfect.
If we were all more kind.
yeah,
Yeah.
just a little kindness would go so far. And, you guys have been part of my life and my circle, and you are like my team of people, and I just want to thank each of you for being here today. And usually I close each segment with a poem from my son, and today's poem is called Unique. And it says, I got to put my glasses on because I can't read it.
You could zoom it, make it bigger.
Smart, see? I need the glasses there. Everybody is different. No one is the same. Then why do I treat people blame? I don't take the time to listen to them complain. I just pretend I understand their pain. I don't talk. I just take charge, assume. No place for them to walk. I thought I treated everyone differently, especially those who I loved, but I rise no one above. I keep those I know behind a gate, the gate I can't escape, the gate I can't shake, the gate that can't let me be my own shape. I ask myself, when was the last time you were true and didn't move so fast? I tell myself to slow down, keep your head down. I cover myself in confidence so others won't see the true me. I showered myself in all these pickup lines and lies. I don't even know if the real me is still alive.
Wow.
You know,
That's so deep.
and and you can relate to it even, at any age. I mean, he was 15 when he wrote this, but, a lot of times we forget what's important and we forget who matters to us in our lives. And, I'm just so grateful and feel so blessed that I'm able to share this with all of you.
Yeah.
This is beautiful.
And again, to our audience, these stories are personal journeys. There's no individual financial advice given here. Always talk with your accountant or your financial professional. Make sure you're up to the latest and greatest on the tax laws. I want to thank you, all of you, for being here today. The Self-Love Club is really special to me. We always go out and we enjoy each other. Once a month, we make sure that we keep taking care of each other and ourselves. Cheers, ladies.
Cheers.
And cheers to our
Cheers.
listeners.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
so much.
Thank you.